Crew skill recommendations. This is a guide that I made where I'm going to go through every crew position and I'm going to tell you which skills and perks you should use for that crew member. So we're going to start with the commander. You want to use a crew member with at least one 0 perk slot. But keep in mind that the commander doesn't have the most crew skills. It's actually the driver and the gunner that do. So you want to have your best crew on the driver and the gunner. So you're going to put BIA first, and I know that you can't use it until you level it up, but it's going to level up very quickly. So just use BIA first. So you're going to appreciate it in the long run. Jack of all trades will save you some money in the long term on medical kits. Not going to save you a lot. And the reason why is because the medical kits, it'll save you definitely on the small medical kits, but not on the big medical kits, because the big medical kits prevent crew injury. You're going to get more crew injury if you use Jack of all trades, but the commander will better be able to deal with them. That's why I say it's going to save you some money. If you use like a Spall liner, it's definitely going to save you money. Eagle Eye will help you aim better and get lucky with fire and ammo rack damage. And when I say get lucky, because you're going to have opportunities to see, should I fire at the engine or at the ammo rack? And Eagle Eye is going to tell you which one to fire at. It's not going to tell you which one to fire at, but it's going to show you which one is vulnerable. Sound detection is good for new players, but might not help much. Advanced players don't use it. You're going to save some damage with sound detection. I didn't use it. I've been playing for about 9 years. I never used it. So for the commander, you're going to use recon, then concealment, then sound detection, then repairs if you're a spotter. You want spotting, so you use recon. You want to hide. You want to protect yourself if you're passively spotting. And then repairs will be used periodically. If you're a heavy tank or a brawler, close combat, you're going to need repairs and then sound detection depending on how big your vehicle is, and then concealment and then recon. If you snipe, you want concealment because you want to hide. And then you want sound detection in case the artillery comes after you, because you're stationary. You're going to be a big target for artillery. Recon, so you can spot your targets, and then repairs. If you're an SPG, you want sound detection first, because the enemy artillery is going to fire at you. And then you want to hide, concealment, recon to see the enemy coming at you at the end of the game, firefighting, which really isn't that useful. Save common skills such as firefighting, repairs, and concealment. Put them on under the commander after the essential skills are filled. Avoid loader and radio operator skills. They don't work with every tank. That's situational awareness, safe storage. You want to avoid putting them on your commander. If you do, at some point you're going to have to pay to remove them. Use mentor last. There are better ways to train your crew. Mentor was always questionable, but now there's so many different ways to get crew experience and so many 0 perk crew members that you're going to get every year. I got like 13 this year, and I didn't play very much. I got like 6 of them just in December alone. And I don't think I played a single game, and I got all 6 of them. Maybe I had to play a few games. Use mentor last. There's better ways to train your crew. However, if you play like Russia, put mentor on one of your crews and then use him on all of your premium heavy tanks. So if you have Russia, put mentor on one heavy tank crew, because you're going to eventually have a lot of premium heavy tanks, and you can put him in to train your crew. Use your best recruits for gunner and driver first, then commander, then loader and radio operator. So if you've got a new crew member that's got 0 perk skills, Use them on gunner and driver first, and then the commander, and the loader and radio operator, you use the regular crew members. The driver. Use a crew member with at least one 0 perk slot. Those are the female crew members, the maidens, snow maidens they call them, Arnold Schwarzenegger, etc. Use your best crew members with best skill training potential. And the reason why I say that is because some crew members have a 0 perk slot and then they include 2 more skills. That means it has a better skill training potential. You want to use them for driver and gunner. Use BIA first. Use preventative maintenance if you instead of the fire extinguisher, and the reason why is because you won't catch on fire. You won't have to use your repair kit as often. You won't have to put the fire extinguisher skill on your other crew. Save it for last. Use off-road driving before clutch braking. Clutch braking helps you spin around. Off-road driving helps you spin around. However, clutch braking always works. Off-road driving only helps you spin when you're not on the pavement. Plus, it helps you drive better when you're not on pavement. So my recommendation is use this because you're going to use it more often. And if you're a turretless tank destroyer, add this one afterwards. I put smooth ride, but I meant off-road driving. For light tanks, use concealment and controlled impact. I'm going to change it right now, if you don't mind. Not going to. For light tanks, use concealment and then controlled impact because you're going to crash into other vehicles often. It's going to give you an advantage. You're going to get higher experience and more damage using controlled impact. Over the course of hundreds of games, it's going to make a huge difference. For heavy tanks, use repairs, smooth ride, controlled impact. You're going to use repairs because you're going to get tracked all the time. You're going to use smooth ride because you have bad gun handling on most heavy tanks. Controlled impact because occasionally you're going to ram another vehicle. For snipers, you use concealment because you want to be unspotted. Smooth ride because you go forward, fire, and reverse. That's what it does. And repairs because you don't want to be tracked out in the open. For SPG, use concealment. You want to hide. Use smooth ride because you're going to change position. You're going to fire, move forward, fire, move backwards, fire. You alternate positions. Off-road driving is going to help you spin around and drive around, and clutch braking. You could put clutch braking before off-road driving. With SPG and turretless, you could do either way. But SPGs, you really don't drive them that much. Use firefighting last, except for China, for the driver. Chinese tanks catch on fire easily, so you want to get firefighting on your crew. Might be more important than repairs. The gunner. Use your best crew members with the best skill training potential. Use a crew member with at least one 0 perk slot. Use the females, the snow maidens, and the battle pass crew members. Whoever's got the most skills at the start, use for the gunner and the driver. Use BIA first. If you are a spotter like a light tank, you use designated target because it helps you get more spot damage. Then you use concealment. It'll help you hide. Concealment does not give you higher EXP or crew training, but this does. And then snapshot, which lets you circle strafe, which is when you circle around an enemy vehicle. For heavy tanks, you use repairs for the gunner. Snapshot, because when you turn your turret, you want less bloom because you have poor gun handling. Deadeye, which gives you more critical hits. And Armorer, because you're going to be hitting the gun a little bit more often than some of the other tanks, especially if you play hull down. For SPG, you use concealment. You want to hide. You use snapshot because the gun moves. Even though you don't use a turret, you move your gun side to side, it's going to help you. And then firefighting last. Repairs really doesn't matter. For snipers, you use concealment because you want to hide, snapshot because you move your gun and your turret, you get better aim. Deadeye is going to let you do more critical hits. Designated target is going to keep him spotted longer. You might want designated target before Deadeye. If you're self-spotting, if you can spot him, then he's going to be spotted in an extra 2 seconds. But when you become a better player, you're just going to blind fire anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Super heavies, you use derp guns. Long roads, use snapshot because they have bad gun handling. Any super heavy derp gun or long reload where there's a big bloom, high dispersion, high aim time, use snapshot, which means your aim time is like 3 seconds or your dispersion is like 0.38. Radio operator, use your standard crew member. Just recruit anybody from the barracks. Don't use the 0 perk. Use them for commander, gunner, driver. Don't use the females. Don't use the battle pass ones. BIA first. If your radio operator is a spotter, you want situational awareness to get more spotting range. Concealment, probably signal boosting, because it lets you broadcast to more snipers and then repairs. For SPG, you want to hide, boost your signal so you can communicate with more vehicles. Relaying is when you want to fire at something that someone else is spotting. So that's for SPGs and tank destroyers. Situational awareness, which allows you to spot further. For heavies, now keep in mind relaying is going to give you better spotting because, well, I don't know, there's arguments for both. For heavies, you want repairs, firefighting, or concealment. You really don't need the other skills. So use it for repairs, for firefighting, for concealment. Firefighting, if you get one firefighter on your tank, it will save you from a fire if you have full hit points. If you don't have full hit points, he might not save you. He probably won't. For snipers, you want concealment because you want to hide, situational awareness so you can spot further. You want firefighting because you probably got weak armor and you're going to catch on fire often. For the loader, use a standard crew member. Save your 0 perk crew members for the commander, gunner, and driver. BIA first. If you're a spotter like a light tank, you want to hide, so you're going to use concealment. You want safe stowage and then adrenaline rush, which you're going to use often because you're going to have low hit points often. For the SPG, you want to hide, use adrenaline rush because if you take one hit, it's going to be activated. It's going to happen often. Intuition is good because you might change rounds sometimes. Depends on how well you play SPG. For heavies, you definitely want safe stowage first because you're going to get your ammo rack hit often, and you don't want it to detonate. And it's going to save you on repair kits. There's lots of reasons. Do repairs second. Adrenaline rush, you're going to use it, but you usually only get one shot with adrenaline rush, unless you're a really good player. So this is only good for you to fire one shot at the end of the game. Intuition, if you change ammunition a lot, you want to use intuition. Although I haven't tested it, but I think that there's a trick you can use where you can constantly switch between ammo and reload faster. Firefighting, concealment. That's for heavy tanks, loader. For snipers, you use concealment because you want to hide. Safe stowage, protect your ammo rack, repairs, and firefighting. For spotters, So now we're going to do based on the type of vehicle you have. You want to prioritize improved spotting range or improved spotting time, then concealment, then driving, then radio. Because think about it, you could improve your radio coverage by driving. So that's what you do anyway. You want to be close to the enemy, you drive towards him. So do radio last. So very important. Most people put concealment first. Don't. If you want to spot, prioritize improved spotting. It will earn you more experience and more credits, everything. For snipers, you want concealment first, then gun handling, then spotting. You get more experience if you're concealed when you're sniping. You're going to have to spot for yourself sometimes. For brawlers, these are heavy tanks, heavy medium tanks. You want repairs, safe stowage and preventative maintenance. Gun handling. This is a defensive strategy. This is an offensive strategy. Then driving. For brawlers, you do repairs, safe stowage and preventative maintenance, gun handling, which is snapshot and smooth ride, then driving, which is off-road driving and clutch braking. For SPG, gun handling, because they have horrible gun handling, because they've been nerfed over the years. Concealment, because you need to hide. Spotting, which will give you a little bit of help at the end of the game, but you're going to know when the enemy's coming looking for you, because you're going to watch the minimap. So you can postpone this just by watching the minimap. Then radio coverage, which is more important early in the game, in frontline and in tier 10 for grand battles. Repairs and firefighting are not very useful because chances are if you take a hit, you're out of the game very soon anyway. And if you catch on fire, even if you have firefighting, it's not going to help you. You don't know what to do, use skills and perks that are always working, the passive skills. BIA is a passive skill. Concealment is always working throughout the entire game, along with BIA. Spotting is always working. Gun handling only works when something is moving, either the turret or the gun or the hull. Driving, you drive in every game, but sometimes you park. Preventative maintenance and repairs, you don't take damage every game. You don't get tracked every game. You do a little bit, and sometimes you do a lot. But you're going to drive more often than you're going to worry about your track. Then lastly, firefighting and radio coverage. I looked at my records. I was destroyed by fire once in 1,000 games. And that is using no automatic fire extinguisher and no firefighting crew skills and no preventative maintenance. Yeah, I was using the repair kit. That's how I did it, because if your engine got damaged, you use the repair kit. BIA always works. Concealment and spotting is always on, but less effective on city maps. On city maps, you have to assume it's not going to work. My spotting damage is really low on city maps, probably half. Gun handling skills whenever you move or rotate or aim your gun or your hull. Driving skills work whenever you move, which is often. Repairs are only performed a few times per game or never. I've got the small repair kit and the large repair kit. Usually I use a small repair kit, but I don't use a large repair kit every game. Firefighting is only performed rarely, unless you play Chinese heavies and Chinese mediums. You're going to have to worry about it every game. And there's a few German tanks that used to catch on fire. Radio coverage works always, but the problem is you need it in the low tiers, not the high tiers. You need it in frontline, You need it on grand battles. So half of your games, or you could argue, if you look at your graph, you're going to be playing more higher tiers and lower tiers. So maybe only when you start out and 10% of the time when you're higher up, it's going to be like 70% of the time you don't need the better radio coverage. Now, keep in mind, this will save you money on buying an upgraded radio, or you could just pay for the upgraded radio and then you don't need the additional radio coverage. So you can either use the money in the research to replace the skill, or you use the skill to save money on the radio, the money in the research. Let's say this is an additional 10%, and then the relaying, you get one of them is 20% and one of them is 10%. Let's say they're 10% each. And plus, I don't know if it's the circumference or the radius. I don't know how the 10% is measured. But the point that I was going to make is that I don't know what the point is that I was going to make. Okay. Switching ammo types only happens once or never per game, which is about the intuition skill. Oh, the point I was making with the radio coverage, easy calculation. If a radio has a radio range of 500 and the upgraded radio is, let's say, 550, then this is definitely the better deal. If the upgraded radio is like 650 or 700, then maybe the upgraded radio is a better deal. If you're only getting 10% or 15% more range buying a radio, it's better to have the skill. Save 0 perk crew members for nations such as Germany or UK, which have a small supply of special crew members. They're best for nations with many premium tanks and with many branches such as USSR, USA, Germany, and France. It is likely you have a surplus of 0 perk crew members for USSR because they were and are given out often. I've got tons of 0 perk crew members for USSR, the male crew members, not because I put them there, but because when you buy premium tanks, they gave them out frequently because there is bias towards the USSR. Okay, so these are my crew skill recommendations. There's more material that I'd like to add that I probably will later. I've got a crew section on my forum, which is cheapbooks.cc, where you can see my crew skills guide, the crew training guide, crew tips, etc. And I'm going to do one that's per tank that shows, like, if you have a heavy tank, this is how you configure it. With this one, I said if you brawl, if you spot, etc. I just posted them, so they don't have a lot of views yet. Just posted them yesterday. Go to cheapbooks.cc. I also own cheapbooks.com, which is a website that lists books and textbooks. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. I read and respond to everything.